Hey there, everyone. This is going to be something different from what I normally do. This is going to be talking about a single movie and my collection related to that. Probably you can tell from the title. This is about Nightbreed. So why Nightbreed? Okay, so Nightbreed is one of my favorite films. It's not I want to say it's not like the most well respected movie. It's not the greatest movie for most people, and it's also not a incredibly well liked movie by most people. It's a very much of a cult status movie. But first, before we start looking at the stuff, I want to talk a little about why Nightbreed is, I want to say, important for me. So Nightbreed is a movie I saw, um, pretty not in the theaters because it's like a when it came out it was like what 1988 maybe or 1990, 1990. So I would have been 12, right? It's not exactly the kind of movie a 12-year-old can go see in the theater without a parent, and God knows I wasn't going to get a parent to come see Nightbreed. But the thing with the Nightbreed is that I really wanted to see it, and for some reason, the local theater near my house had a like a midnight showing of Nightbreed for months. It played at the theater for months and months. I always saw it on the board at Saturday night at midnight was Nightbreed time. And whoever did that was they were on the pulse of something because it's a great movie despite like it not I mean, besides like some obvious problems it had, like 40 minutes of it being cut, like an hour of it being cut, really, like having like to do reshoots due to the studio. There's a lot of problems that happened with the finished product of Nightbreed. But even then, the finished product of Nightbreed, just the standard edition, is still great. And we can get into it, but the reason why it's so great is because it's a kind of movie that maybe wouldn't be incredibly exciting for someone who doesn't have a background in kind of things that are like um, underground cultures. So Clive Barker wrote Nightbreed based on the kind of gay community in the 80s, and it's kind of a thing about like hiding away and hiding from like kind of normal people who would want to kill you. But it's not a metaphor that can only be applied to that. It's something else that can be applied to other types of things. So if you are a part of, I mean, it could be anything really, but like anything that's not a kind of mainstream concern that people would kind of, something that you could put a lot of effort or energy into, but normal people would just think that's fucking weird or that's fucking stupid. Um, or, and I'm not talking about like hobbies for the most part. I'm talking about things that are like integral to you as a person. So like things that you do or things that are part of you that you can't really I mean, I guess you could affect, like you could fight against like your natural impulses, but like um things like that that a normal kind of societal situation would frown upon or would not accept because it's different from what most people do. So if you have that kind of feeling in you, like it's very easy to latch onto Nightbreed as a kind of movie that kind of speaks to that concern, and especially when it's something that is very important to you. So Nightbreed kind of hits me there. Like I have a you know thing that it's the kind of thing where like you can kind of understand how it turns out. And with that, Like, let me first get into talking about the movie because, oh wait, before I do that, we should talk about the original story. So, originally, this is part of Clive Barker's Books of Blood. Um, I believe it's collected in a bunch of different books too, but like it's initially part of the Books of Blood, and it also has, it was in there with like The Last Illusion, which is the story that became Lord of Illusions, also a good movie. But the story itself is Cabal. So this is the Cabal, a hardcover reprint of just Cabal by itself. This is an annotated version. It has like extra essays and things about Nightbreed in here, written by various people. But don't go looking for this. Not that it's bad, and not that you shouldn't read it. I wish you could, but I think they only made 300 of these, and if you want to buy one, you're gonna probably be spending hundreds of dollars. But Cabal itself is probably still in print in any if you buy the novelization. Well, not the novelization because it's the opposite. The original short story, the Books of Blood. I'm sure it's in that collection, but also if you buy the single book, which was maybe, man, I don't remember what it was called. In the U.S., it had a different name. It wasn't part of the Books of Blood. Like in the U.S., there were 3 books that were the Books of Blood, like 1 and 2 and 3, and then there was like the Inhuman Condition and fuck, I don't remember the other 2 names for the things. I haven't had those in a really long time. The U.S. versions. I have like the British books that I found. But anyway, Cabal here is the original short story. Well, I mean, like novella, I guess. It's not like completely a novel. But, the basic story is you've got Aaron Boone, who is the main character. He is, kind of tricked into believing that he is a murderer. And he's been like he has dreams about these monsters in this place called the Midian. And he wants to go there and be part of that group. He doesn't feel like he fits in normal society, so he wants to be part of these monsters. He wants to be with them, and gets convinced he's a serial killer by his psychologist, who drugs him and sends him on his way. And he tries to kill himself, and he fails, and he stumbles upon Narcisse, I guess, is the who tells him how to get the Midian. That's the basic idea, and then he goes and finds monsters, and then there's a battle. But you've got other stuff. It's a good story. That's just the beginning. I don't want to spoil anything for you. That's like the first chunk of the movie, like first 15 minutes maybe. But and the story also. But like he's got it's like a gothic horror romance with monsters, and like kind of a love story between 2 people who are torn apart and they can't be together because they're part of different worlds, and humans versus monsters, and a kind of inversion of the standard man versus monster story where the monster is the good guy. So Cabal, this specific version is great. It's got these extra essays in there. It's got a lot of extra stuff in here. Quite worth this if you want to spend a couple $100. But if you don't and you want to spend like $10, you can get the original story. Totally worth it. But Cabal is, Clive Barker had a hit with Hellraiser, and after Hellraiser, the studio wanted to give him more money to make another movie, and he wanted to make Nightbreed. And the idea of it was that he wanted it to be a kind of Star Wars of horror. So like, Star Wars has tons of aliens everywhere. There's like the cantina scene you go through, and there's tons of aliens everywhere. He wanted that kind of feel for Nightbreed, so you could go through Midian and find monsters everywhere, and there's a city. But this book here is the Nightbreed Chronicles. It's basically about making the movie, and there's lots of things where there's like pictures from the movies and like kind of explanations of the characters in the movies in this book, but also it goes through a lot of the kind of iconic characters in the movie. So like you've got these main monsters. Pelican is very Shunasazzy. That's probably should not show that with it. Oh, it's tasteful. It's not. There's no nudity. At least not on the color page. And these are your standard Nightbreed, but like this book shows you like the names and gives a story for Nightbreed you haven't really paid attention to. Saul here, he's in the movie for 5 seconds, maybe 2 seconds. It's like a brief scene. This character Beloit Motto is like in the story for in the movie for 5 seconds maybe. Again, a lot of these characters like they're in the movie for 5 seconds. This character 5 seconds. This character maybe 10. This character, who knows? Like some of these characters are just in the background. They don't do anything. This character shows up a couple of times, maybe 15 seconds total. You see her like 3 times, 4 times maybe. You get the Berserkers. You get Onaka, who is a sort of a major minor character. But you'll see these characters. Otis and Calais, for example, is kind of iconic, but he doesn't really have a part in the final the final like cut that we originally got. So there's a bunch of characters in here, and you'll look at them and you'll see that like some of them are cool, but like they're almost non-existent in the movie or have been cut entirely. So this is like the first glimpse that I had that, oh shit, there's lots of this movie that didn't come out. And this is like in the early 90s. So in the early 90s, I was like ravenous for Nightbreed stuff. And this book, and there's another one, this Nightbreed, Clive Barker's Nightbreed, The Making of the Film. This is essentially a very, very short like the first like, I don't know, like 20 pages maybe is like talking about the making of the film. And the rest of this book is a script. So what happens is the script in this book is different from the movie. So when I got this and I read it, the script is different. So you're like, hey, that wasn't in the movie. This part is cut. You start to like realize like, oh shit, there's all this stuff that got cut. And it was always rumored that Nightbreed, when it originally came out, was heavily edited by the studio and made to be changed in some ways and made to be cut. But the other rumor was that the studio had lost the cut film. It was just gone. Nobody knew where it was. It was missing. It was like in a room, unlabeled, and in a giant film warehouse from a major studio. Who knows? Nobody knew what happened to it. And then, so here's the original release. This is the Laserdisc version of Nightbreed. This is the Japanese Laserdisc, because, this probably came out in 1990 itself. So here is like an original release, 90. I originally had this on VHS in the US, but I'm in Japan now. I got the old Laserdisc because why not? But you can see Laserdisc, nice stuff on the side here. This is the original release of the movie. Great movie. If you only can see the original release, do it. It's good. It's great. I loved it for 20 years before I saw any other version, and I had very little complaints about it. But then, like, we got this weird thing online after like 20 years. Somebody located the footage, and there had been like constant talk about this like for years. People were like, oh yeah, like we're eventually someone's gonna go find that footage and we're gonna do it. And Clive Barker had been saying it for like 20 years. And then suddenly somebody found it and they were like, oh shit, we can actually do this. And what they did was they released Nightbreed as the director's cut. And the director's cut, I believe, has 40 minutes of film added, but 20 minutes subtracted. So like it's only 20 minutes longer, but there's 40 minutes of new footage. So it changes entire parts of the movie. Sections are cut out and some sections are lengthened. It's got a bunch of different things going on, and this is your director's cut. It's got a completely different kind of type of ending for it. You can see this There's a like a book in here that came with it. You can see this Nightbreed. It's talks about Nightbreed. It's got some pictures from the movie. It's got a bunch of the pictures from like, here's your different movie posters from around the world. Here's the Japanese one right here. But you know, it goes through. Here's like some pictures of the on the scene. Some characters like didn't make it in, like this monster riding a monster thing. But you know, it's got some stuff. It's got a lot of stuff in there. So this was really cool. It was really exciting when this came out. I was super excited. But this I had a special order this from. I mean, this isn't the. There was like a special edition on Clive Barker's website where it was like if you paid a certain amount, you could get a poster signed with the director's cut. So here's the director's cut. This one also comes with the theatrical cut on here, so I have them both on Blu-ray instead of the Laserdisc. But again, it's about 20 minutes longer than the original film, but 40 minutes is different. So it's overall great, good movie. The director's cut is interesting. They redo some of the voice work spottily, I want to say, for some characters. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. So if you have an option, director's cut. That's but at the same time, I would say if you've never seen Nightbreed and you're really interested in it, watch the theatrical cut first and then watch the director's cut, because I feel like maybe that's not the ideal way to see it, but like for literally for like 20 years, 30, 25 years maybe, nobody had the chance to see anything but the theatrical cut, and that's the movie that grew the fan base to what it was, enough to like have the kind of like groundswell to get a director's cut made. So that's the thing. So I would suggest watching the original and then watching the director's cut. But I guess if you can only watch one, watch the longer one, the director's cut, because that's like kind of more true to how it should be. So what happened here is that Nightbreed itself had the director's cut here, and they found this footage, but after that, somebody found a work print of Nightbreed on like VHS or something, like some really low quality kind of thing, and it had a whole lot of extra scenes that weren't in the director's cut. And what happened was there were two of these work prints, and one was like much longer, and one was also longer, but slightly less as long as the other one. And that was kind of toured around the country as the Cabal Cut. And that's this. So this is the Nightbreed, the Cabal Cut. This is a special edition. I think only 1,000, maybe 250 of these were made, and only 200 of them are the special edition with the slipcase and all of the stuff that came with it. I'll show that later. But the Cabal Cut here is like a much longer movie, but it also has like cut-in stuff of varying quality. So like sometimes the sound is like not produced correctly. It's not like the same as the rest of the video. Sometimes it's just like grainy VHS over like spliced in with your normal like Blu-ray quality. So it's not like it's not like super great for your viewing experience if you really care about it being all together. But if you really care about the story and you really want to see what could have been, like the Cabal Cut, which this version itself, like, good luck getting it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when this came out, they were like selling on eBay. This version that I have was selling maybe like $500 or $600. It was not, but there's good news for people who haven't seen the Cabal Cut, didn't have the option to see the Cabal Cut because it sold out immediately and is really expensive. There's a new version coming out, the Ultimate Cabal Cut, and it's not that version, and nobody is quite seems to be quite sure right now what it's gonna be. It might be longer than the Cabal Cut, this one, and it might have different footage. I'm sure some stuff is being restored to it that like didn't have a place in the Cabal Cut or didn't have a place in the director's cut. Like there's scenes I've seen scenes online that are not in either of those, but they're just kind of extra because they're cut out for pacing or whatever. But I think the new version will probably restore all of that stuff. So it'll probably be poorly paced, I'm guessing, but like it'll also have a ton of extra scenes. So that might come out this year. I don't know. I hope soon. And there was rumors that there was going to be a Japanese release, which is amazing because like the Japanese release, besides the Laserdisc, is incredibly expensive. It's you know that Nightbreed is kind of a cult movie, right? It's not the kind of movie that's like you can get anywhere, you can see everywhere in the US where it's in English. In Japan, it's like the same status, but on a much smaller level. So like if you wanted a DVD of Nightbreed, just a regular bare bones, like $10 DVD that came out in the US, it's like $150. It's not, and the only difference is that it has Japanese subtitles. So like if I want to show somebody Nightbreed, I would be forced to show them the Laserdisc currently because unless I don't really know that many people who can understand an entire movie in English, just by virtue of where I am. So that means I can't like share one of my favorite movies ever with the people I want to share it with. But that's not all. Okay, so that's like the general status of the movie. The book itself had stuff, right? I mean, it came from a book, had these kind of making of books and this kind of, delving into the world book. But that's not it. So Nightbreed has your comics. So the Nightbreed the movie was turned into a comic. Marvel's Epic imprint, I believe, put these out. So, okay. So I think the first 3 issues are, yeah, almost definitely. It might be the first 4, but I think it's the first 3 issues cover the movie. Yeah. 4 issues maybe? Okay. Just like guessing from the covers, it might be the first 4 issues. I have 2 issues of number 1, so let me take one of those out. But, so, let's see. You have Nightbreed here. This is the first iconic cover with Decker on the cover. This is the main antagonist of the movie. The comic, though, the comic itself, I'll show a little bit of it later. I don't want to take it out of the bag, but, like, I have the collected edition also. But the comic, I'm just going to show you the covers of these while we're looking at it. Covers the movie, except it's an adaptation of the movie that is not exactly the same. So there's parts that are different from the movie in the comic, and there's stuff that's, here's another cover, more cover. So like the first 4 covers at least are part of the are characters that are in the movie, and that seems like it's probably the end. But I have I took out like the first 10 issues maybe. Yeah, so I have the first 10 issues here. After that, it turns into an entirely new Nightbreed series. So you've got like, more stories of the Nightbreed, but they're characters that are in the movie are, well, not necessarily. Some of the characters are in the movie, but most of the characters in the movie continue, plus you have a bunch of new Nightbreed. And it continued on. I don't remember how many total issues are in the Nightbreed series. But here are some looks at the covers of these. But these are probably really cheap. I assume that they're like, you could probably get them for like $1 at any dollar box, right? In a comic shop. I don't think these are incredibly collectible, but you can see a bunch of weird kind of Clive Barker monsters in here. But if you were like, oh yeah, I really want to read those Nightbreed comics, because you appreciate good stuff, I guess. But Nightbreed has this. So this is the Clive Barker's Nightbreed archive. This was put out by Boom Studios. You can see here is this. But Boom Studios put out the Clive Barker's Nightbreed archive. It's a collection of those epic comics. And it collects, I think, the first, what, like 20? I don't, let me double check that. 12 issues? Okay. So, no, wait, that couldn't be right. Oh yeah, okay, I see. So it's the first 12 issues of Nightbreed plus 2 extra issues of a series that was Nightbreed and Hellraiser called Jihad. So let me flip to that. Here's issue 10. Oh, no, okay, I was wrong. So this is the first 10 issues that I just showed you the covers of. I was going to show you some other covers, but actually there aren't any. So this right here, Nightbreed, Clive Barker's Nightbreed archive, Boom labels this as 1. I don't think they put out any other ones. It probably didn't sell that well, I assume. But, you know, what do you expect? But Nightbreed here, I think it goes up to like issue 27, maybe higher, maybe 47. I mean, I don't remember. It lasted a while, a couple of years at least. But, and also there was a crossover. Hellraiser had a comic. This is Jihad. It's a 2-issue kind of like not maxi series, but like they're perfect bound, so they're square bound. You know, like it's probably like each issue is probably 50 pages or so. But like here's the second cover of Jihad. There's only 2 issues of Jihad. I remember when it came out originally, it was super hyped because Hellraiser and Nightbreed were comics I was reading at the time. Great to. But if you want to like get a good sampling, the first 10 issues of Nightbreed and in a nice hardcover edition, this was really cheap. But if you don't mind having single issues, it's probably even cheaper to buy single issues, I'd guess, because I'm guessing that the Nightbreed series by Epic is not something that's highly expensive. But if you're thinking like, wow, I really loved those Epic Nightbreed comics, I really should get some more Nightbreed. How can I whet my appetite for more Nightbreed, Joe, is what you're asking yourself right now. And I would say you can continue on reading comics, because Clive Barker's Nightbreed. This is also by Boom Studios, put out a new series, 12-issue maxi series of Nightbreed. These are new stories. They're not reprints from the Epic series. These are a new series that continues of like a story of one of the characters from the movie and one of the villains from the movie, plus, you know, the main characters of the movie. So here's your kind of, you know, covers here. You got a bunch of good stuff here. But overall, these Nightbreed comics, the Epic ones are better. This story is like, seems really slapdash to me. Like, it's put together all right. Like, it's not a bad story or anything, but like, it's not great either. And the ending seems really abrupt, and also like no thought was put into it. So like, I feel like the story itself, the buildup is like kind of okay, except for like the characterization of one of the main villain, not so great also. So like, I didn't feel that the story for this was amazing or really good. It was just kind of but the art is really nice. You get a kind of introduction and background stories for Nightbreed, which makes these still worth it, even if you're not like the main overarching story, not so great, but the issues by themselves are, you know, the main overarching story is kind of a framing device where it gives you an opportunity to go into the origin of a bunch of different Nightbreed, and all the origin stories are really interesting. So like, you'll get these kind of the first time people became Nightbreed or figured out they were Nightbreed. Some of people are just born hideous mutants; they know right away. But some people don't, and some people are changed into Nightbreed via events that happen. So you'll get their stories in this book. It's really interesting. So these are pretty good for that. Their stories also are in that Nightbreed Chronicles book. Also, if you just want to read the like one paragraph or two paragraphs story, but the comic version gives it a little bit more. You get to visually see it. It's kind of nice. So that's the comics for Nightbreed. I've talked about the book. I've talked about this other stuff. What else is there for Nightbreed? Well, there are two video games. I don't have either of them. I'd like them. If somebody can get their hands on them, let me know. But there's one for the I guess there's two. There's Nightbreed the interactive movie and Nightbreed is something. I don't. It's on the Amiga. And I think DOS also. So these are like DOS and Amiga games. I would like to have them, but I've never seen them. Like I don't know. Never. It's not something that I'm gonna run across, especially not in Japan. So, if I ever get them, I'll be happy. But it's not necessary. I don't have like my Amiga here. I don't have. I guess I could play them on my computer on the DOS version in DOS box. I guess that works. But that's also an option. They're not incredibly good games. I've played them. It's not like I haven't played them. I just don't own them. They're not incredibly good. The interactive movie is more fun if you just like the movie, but it's not like an incredibly fun game. And the other game is not an incredibly fun game, but it's kind of Nightbreed related, so it like you give it a bit of a pass. But it's not so great. So you're thinking like, well, I don't want to play any not so great games, even if I can just play them on DOSBox. And you can download them from abandonware sites. Just I've heard. I don't know. Maybe, but if you're thinking like, well, what else is there? Is there anything else I can do for Nightbreed? What can I do? There's this. This is an anthology. It's called Midian Unmade: Tales of Clive Barker's Nightbreed. So this is a collection of short stories written by various authors that are single stories from based in the world of Nightbreed. So it's about certain breed members of the breed and some stories. This is kind of like all anthologies. It's hit or miss, right? Some of the stories are good, some stories are not as good. None of them are awful, and it's like pretty well you're edited, so it's not like a chore to read or anything. But like I often feel like these stories that are based on characters from the movie just kind of read like fan fiction, and when people make their own new characters, it's much better. Other people might not feel that way, but like in my case, I would recommend this if you like Nightbreed, if you are interested in like just getting a flavor of that world again, getting a little bit of a taste of it. Midian Unmade, you can't really go wrong, or any of the comics. All that stuff is good. But so as far as media goes, that's kind of it for Nightbreed, except there's been rumors recently that there's going to be a streaming show for Nightbreed, or maybe it's on Sci-Fi Channel or something, Sci-Fi or something, streaming show, I don't know, for Nightbreed. And it's exciting. It's exciting news. I hope it happens, but like, man, if I had $1 for every time Clive Barker said something was going to happen, or someone was rumored to be creating a something based on Clive Barker stuff, if I had $1 for every time that happened and then it didn't, I'd be a rich man, because that always happens. So like I don't have my hopes up really high, and especially since we haven't heard anything about it for months, it kind of seems like something that is going to quietly go away, but I hope it doesn't. I hope there's actually progress on it. I hope it actually comes out. But we're going to look at some of the stuff. So like, as I said earlier, I bought that Cabal Cut, and I got the Nightbreed director's cut directly from Clive's website. So I've got a bunch of stuff. I got some swag that comes with those things. So first off, we're going to look at this. It's a pin. Here's a pin. I don't know if you can see it. That's a Decker, I believe. Maybe. Pretty sure. Got a sticker. We got this is from the Cabal Cut. It's a set of pins. You can't really see any of those pins, but I haven't opened them. I don't plan on opening them. We got a set of cards here for, it's just like the movie posters and some of the other art, but I don't want to take them out because it's pain, but also I can show you the art in other ways. But here I got the, wait, I'll show you this later. It's more exciting. But here, also from getting the Cabal Cut, I got some art prints with it. Here is a commissioned piece. It's Nightbreed, a poster for Nightbreed that came with the Cabal Cut. There is a couple of these. So there's also this one, which is the cover, the slipcase cover. So here's the art for the slipcase cover. The other one was another picture that's probably the DVD cover, I think, enlarged into print format. But that's not all, friends. I also have, this is a felt print. It's red and black felt. This is felt. I don't know if you guys remember these kind of felt prints. It's kind of a thing it was kind of a thing for a while in the 80s. But here, like, this is a print of Cabal. So this is his face. But, you know, this is limited to 300 copies. It's not something you'll come across. And the last thing I have from buying these things is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, movie poster for Nightbreed, signed by Clive Barker. So this I believe I got that with the director's cut, actually, the movie poster, but I might be wrong. It might have came with the Cabal Cut, but I don't remember. Came with one of those, either the director's cut special edition or the Cabal Cut. But whatever, either way, that's all my stuff for Nightbreed. I wish I had more. I wish I had another hardcover of the comics. I wish they would collect the rest of them in volumes of hardcovers here. There are a couple of more comics that I didn't bring in that are just anthologies, so it's not like directly a Nightbreed comic. It just has like 1/3 of the comic is Nightbreed. It's only like one issue, so it's not a big thing. It's like an Epic Comics put out this thing that was a kind of anthology, Epic. And I'm trying to think, there are a bunch of other stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of things I don't have. Like, I don't have like every language version or anything of the DVD. I'm not that crazy of a collector. If I've got one version, I've got them all, right? As long as I got like the actual version. So like, even though I have 3 versions, like they're all different enough. They're all different, so you have to have them all. But Nightbreed, it's a really great movie. If you've never seen it, I don't know why you watched 40 minutes of a video of me talking about stuff that I have for Nightbreed. If you've never seen Nightbreed, like, get on it. Get to the streaming service of your choice. I think it might be on Amazon. I don't know. Netflix, who knows? I remember seeing that someone was saying that it was on streaming, so maybe the director's cut was on streaming. Get on it. I'd recommend it. But also, I'm kind of a crazy collector of Nightbreed stuff. But I don't have anything that's super crazy. Like, I haven't like got Clive Barker commissions or anything, or like original artwork, or any of like the, you know, extra special crazy stuff. Like, I've seen masks that I really, really want to buy, but like, you know, I can't justify it. But, you know, like, I don't have a place to put it. What am I going to do with it? It's just going to sit somewhere. So, or I guess I could wear it and turn into a knife-wielding maniac. I don't know, whatever. One of those things could happen. Probably I won't buy it, though. So people can be safe. No, I don't know. That's it. I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff. I'm sure there'll be people who watch this video who have way more stuff than I do. And if you do, let me know. Or if you like Nightbreed, just want to talk about it, chat in the comments. I'm always up to talk about Nightbreed. And yeah, that's about it. We'll see you next time for another video when on whatever, I guess tomorrow, because video every month this week if you hadn't noticed. So okay, wait, did I say every month? Every day this month. So video every day this month. That didn't make sense the first time. Okay, but that's it. I've gone 40 minutes talking about Nightbreed, and that's not nearly enough, but it's probably too much for videos. So I will catch you guys next time.